Brahmanda Purana, Part 4, Lalita Mahatmya, Chapter 30. Resurrection of Madana, God of Love. The footnote says Bhandasura was created out of the ashes of Madana when he was burnt down by God Shankara. Now Bhandasura is killed by Lalita. Madana had then no body to exist. At this time, Tarakasura was a growing menace. According to his boon, only Shiva's son could kill him. Shiva was a widower engrossed in penance. Formerly, attempt to tempt Shiva had failed, so Madana must be given a body and be deputed to tempt Shiva. Rati was appealing, so gods presented Rati to Lalita. Out of compassion, she revived her husband. He was blessed by Lalita and was sent to Shiva. This time Shiva was subjugated. He married Parvati and got a son, Skanda. Agastya said, O Hayagriva, O highly intelligent one, the excellent narrative has been heard. The excellent valor of goddess Lalita has been described by you. On account of flawless and meritorious anecdotes of the goddess, I have become extremely delighted. O Hayagriva, the great power of Mantrini and Dandanatha also has been heard. After the night of the fourth day of the battle had dawned, O Hayagriva, what did Ambika do after the battle was over? Hayagriva said, Listen, O pot-born sage, O intelligent one, to what had been done by Jagadamba after Danava Bhanda had been killed. With her eyes immersed in nectar, as it were, she repeatedly delighted the entire army of Shaktis, harassed and brushed by hundreds of weapons of Daityas. By the current of nectarine glances of the supreme goddess Lalita, Shaktis got rid of their fatigue due to her war. They became delighted in their minds. In the meantime, Devas with Brahma and Vishnu as their leaders became gratified due to the smashing of Bhanda, and they approached the goddess to serve her. Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, Devas, beginning with Indra, Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Maruts, Sadhya, deities, Siddhas, Kimpurushas, Yakshas, Niriti, and other night wanderers, Prahlada, and other great Daityas, and the residents of the entire cosmic egg came there and gladly eulogized the great goddess seated on the throne. The footnote says Devas have come in deputation to plead Rati's case. As usual, Lalita must be propitiated by singing a string of her epithets, a glowing tribute to her, hence her epithets in verse 11 to 30. Brahma and others said, obeisance to you, O Supreme Lady of the universe. Salutes to you, O Goddess Tripura. Hail to you, O Destroyer of Bhanda, the great Asura. Obeisance to you, O Kameshwari Vamakeshi, one having beautiful tresses. O Chintamani, wish yielding jewel, O Goddess expert in bestowing what is anxiously thought of. O unimaginable deity, O cluster of waves in the form of Sit consciousness, O deity with garments of diverse colors, O mother of the universe of variegated forms, O deity named Chitra, O Eternal One, O Bestower of pleasure, obeisance to you. O Bestower of salvation, O Deity with the crescent moon as crest jewel, O Deity of sweet smiles, O Lady discussing administrative policies with Mudreshwari, O deity fond of mudras, mystical gestures, O deity, obeisance, obeisance to you. O destroyer of the cruel god of death, O lady with tender body, O lady taking up the body of Kali while in fury, O deity with the face of a boar, O deity who has protected all troops and armies, O deity clasping to your own bosom the fear of all, that is, one who dispels their fears, obeisance to you. O dark complexion deity with six attendant deities, O goddess worthy of being sought by the words of Vedas, along with their six ancillary subjects, O deity stationed in the six mystical chakras in the body, equipped with sadurmis, viz. Shoka, grief, moha, delusion, jara, old age, mrityu, death, kshut, hunger, and pipasa, thirst, or six plates in the traces. O Rupa, O Sadbhava Rupa, the 40 types of living beings, avidya, and the Supreme Spirit, having these six as her forms. O Lalita, I bow to you. O Kama, lovely goddess. O Shiva, O deity identical with the chief eternal things, O deity equipped with luster, O deity with large eyes resembling petals of lotus, O bestower of desires, O Kamini, lovable one, O deity worthy of being desired by Shambhu in the guise of Kameshwara, O presiding deity of all arts, salute to you. O deity first one among divine penances, O deity having forms of groups of cities, O divine being, O deity as lustrous as a thousand suns, O refulgent one, O deity endued with sympathy, O consort of the overlord of devas, obeisance to you. O deity worthy of being always served by the eight siddhis, beginning with anima, minuteness, O deity residing in Sadashiva's own shining conch, O cultured one, O deity with feet which are the sole refuge of good people and which are worthy of being worshipped, O mother of the world, obeisance, obeisance to you. O deity worthy of being served by the matras or mothers, the chief among whom is Brahmi, O deity beloved of Brahman, O deity who serves the worldly bondage of one who has realized Brahman, O royal swan swimming in nectarine current of Brahman, O goddess, O Brahma, O Sri Lalita, bow to you. O deity served by the mudras, mystical gestures by means of fingers, the chief of them being Samkshobhini, O destroyer of worldly existence, O deity having features of worldly sports, O deity with eyes resembling lotuses, perpetual obeisance to you, O Lalita, O presiding deity. O Eternal One, O deity attracting her Lord through the 16 digits, O presiding deity worthy of being served by the Pramathas, O Eternal One, O deity with merciful activities devoid of fear, O lady with black forelocks of hairs, obeisance, obeisance to you, O deity worthy of being perpetually served by the haughty lady attendants of Ananga, Cupid, beginning with Ananga Pushpa, O destroyer of everything inauspicious and ugly, O deity with groups of letters for her form, O Lalita, who has killed all enemies, obeisance to you. O deity with extremely illuminated form of great mobility, surrounded by 14 series of flames, the chief of whom being Samkshobhini. O deity possessed of your own spirit, O deity endowed with graceful beauty, O deity the resort of everything splendid, O deity with auspicious feet, obeisance to you. O deity worthy of being saluted by Shaktis, Siddhas, and others, including Sharva, O deity whose lotus like feet have been comprehended by Sarvagnya Shiva. O deity surpassing everything, O omnipresent deity, O bestower of all types of siddhis, spiritual attainments, O Sri Lalita, obeisance be to you. O deity, the realm around whom is resorted to by those deities who were born at the outset from Sarvagnya as well as by other deities too. O deity, the fulfiller of desires of all devas, O mother of the entire world, protect us. I salute you, the deity, with a number of superhuman powers of speech, such as Vashini, bringing others under control, etc. O deity, having a chariot as your vehicle, the chariot that has the increasing splendor of its wheels. O deity, with tresses as dark as clouds, O ocean of speech, O bestower of boons, O beautiful one, protect the universe. O empress, endowed with arrows and other divine weapons, O deity acting like a forest fire in burning down the forest like army of Bhanda, the Asura, O ocean of refulgence that blazes brightly, O deity who is being served all round, obeisance to you. O Kameshi, O Vajreshi, goddess of thunderbolt, O Vageshi, goddess of exalted splendor, O deity without form, O Virgin, O Kala, O deity powerful enough to wipe off even god of death, O deity who reduced the army of Daityas only as a legend that is completely destroyed them, O Kamesha Kanta, O Kameshakanta, beloved of Kameshvara, Lord Shiva, O Kamala, obeisance to you. O deity stationed on Bindu, mystical point in the mystical diagram. O deity having the soul form of the digit of the Bindu. O deity identical with Bindu. O deity that has increasingly cherished the illumination of Chit consciousness. O deity with the necklace swinging to and fro on the big breasts resembling the buds of lotuses. O Lalita of growing prowess, obeisance to you, O deity with perpetual residence on the lap of Kameshvara, O deity identical with Kala, time, O goddess taking pity on others, O deity with the form of Kali that rises up at the close of Kalpa, O deity, the bestower of desires, O deity, identical with the wish yielding creeper Kalpalata, salute to you, O deity, accompanied by Varuni, Varuna's wife, as attendant, O deity, as cool as the moon with abundant nectarine rays, O deity having eyes like those of a fawn, O deity having the face resembling the lotus, O deity, the perpetual soul base of the essence of agreeable loveliness, O presiding goddess of all lords, obeisance to you. Bhanda and other fierce asuras who had become a nuisance and source of vexation to the entire universe, have been killed in the battle by your prowess, because you were born of Chidagni, fire of spiritual consciousness, having been caused to manifest yourself by Sri Shambhu Natha. After assuming fresh forms and bodies, or after making all our bodies fresh by means of currents of abundant nectar of mercifulness, O beautiful deity worthy of being attained by cultured people, the entire world has been resuscitated and rendered full of joy. Lord Shiva is in the form of the second flow of refulgence of Sri Shambhunatha, of great and noble heart. He is detached because he has been staying permanently. Another version is performing penance in the hermitage of Sthanu. He has discarded all sensual enjoyments on account of bereavement from Sati. We were engaged in an attempt to join him with the girl Uma, who has taken birth in the family of the Lord of the mountain Himalaya. Thus, in this connection, we had persuaded the Cupid to go near that Lord who was engaged in a severe penance. Madana was burned with the fire in his forehead because he was angry that there was an obstacle in his detached state and pursuance of penance. Thereupon Madana was reduced to ashes, and it was from these ashes that Bhandasura was born. Thereafter, that evil minded wicked fellow, very haughty about his ability to fight in war, was killed by you. Now Kama has become Atanu, bodiless, for our sake. Hence, you kindly do resuscitate Kama immediately. This Rati is dejected due to her um, bereavement from her husband. She has attained the ungraceful and inauspicious state of widowhood. O Sri Lalita, she will become blessed with a lord and husband if the union with Kama is brought about by you, as before the moon crested lord may become enchanted by the mind born god of love united with her. Isha will ere long marry that girl Parvati who had served him much for a long time. By their union, Kumara Skanda, the leader of all the armies of Devas, will be born. It is through that hero alone that the king of demons named Taraka should be defeated and driven away. The footnote says gods wanted to kill Taraka, for which Shankara must be tempered to marry. The pleading for Rati is in their own interest. He is friend of Bhanda, the Daitya of vicious soul. He is a veritable comet, an ominous calamity unto the three worlds. If he is killed in battle by the son of Shrikantha, Shiva, really it will be a re-establishment of our vital breaths once again. Hence, O Mother Tripura, dispel the misery of widowhood of Rati, whose tresses have become dishevelled by not being combed. You can do this by resuscitating the excellent hero Manmatha, who is capable of removing the affected pride of the people. O deity with the designation Tripura, this helpless widow whose body has become very emaciated on account of the death of her husband takes refuge in you and bows down to you. Hence, please direct a digit of your compassionate glance towards her, Hayagriva said, after eulogizing Maheshani. Thus, the excellent Devas, beginning with Brahma, showed her Rati, who had become untidy and emaciated on account of grief, that Rati, who had abandoned all her ornaments on account of widowhood, whose face was covered with flow of tears, whose tresses had become scattered, and whose color had become greyish on account of dust particles, bowed down to Jagadamba. On seeing her, the great goddess became compassionate. Then, from her benign side glance, Manmatha was reborn. He had a smiling lotus like face. He was more handsome than in his previous body. He became as if highly intoxicated, excited with joy. He had only two hands. He had all kinds of ornaments. Flowers were his bow and arrows. By his gentle glance, he delighted Rati, his wife, as even in the previous birth. The gentle lady Rati found herself immersed in the great ocean of bliss. On seeing her husband, she became exultant with joy. On knowing that both of them had their minds filled with devotion and that their inner souls had great bliss, the lotus like face of the great queen beamed with smile. Looking at Rati, who had kept her head bent down due to shyness, she spoke to Shyamala thus: O Shyamala, let her take bath and let her be adorned with girdle and other ornaments. Let her wear garments too as before, and then be brought here quickly. Taking her behests with great humility, Shama did everything as directed. The goddess got the auspicious rite of marriage of the pair performed by Vasishtha and other Brahminical sages in accordance with the injunctions regarding marriage. The celebration included dances and songs of all the celestial damsels. On seeing this, the sages, ascetics, and gods Indra and others praised Lalita Ambika, saying, "Well done, well done." They then eulogized her, making showers of flowers. All of them became delighted in their minds. Both of them bowed down to Laliteshwari with great devotion after coming to her side and stood there with their palms joined in reverence. Then the hero Kandarpa bowed down to Maheshwari. With devotion filling his mind, he appealed to her in the following words: O Mother Lalita, the physical body of mine, which had been burned by the eye of Isha, has been restored to me due to the grace of your benign side glance. I am I am your son. I am your slave. Employ me anywhere in any task. On being told thus, Parameshani spoke to the shark embled deity, that is Cupid. Sri Devi said, O dear one, born of the mind, that is Cupid, come on, you have nothing to be afraid of, O Cupid, with no hindrance to your arrow enchant and fascinate the entire universe due to my favor. The courage of Ishvara will be upset when your arrows fall on him. Immediately he will marry Gauri, the daughter of the Lord of Mountain Himalaya. Thousands of crores of karmas will be born of you due to my favor. They will penetrate everyone's body and bestow excellent sexual pleasure. On account of his non attached nature, Isha may get angry. Even then, he will not be competent to burn down your physical body. Be the enchanter of all living beings with your invisible physical form. Afraid of separation from his wife, He, Bhava, will give her half of his body. With his mind struck by your arrows, he will become agitated in his mind. The footnote says Bhava Shiva, the enchanter one with his body not visible to all living beings. From today onwards, O Kandarpa, on account of my great favor, those who censure you or those who are averse to you will definitely become emasculated and unmanly in every birth. Destroy sinners of vicious souls and those who torture and harass my devotees by making them fall for forbidden woman. If people's mind is eager for my worship and if they respect my devotees, see that you enable them to have the pleasure of love by arranging for the fulfillment of all their desires. These were the words of behest of Sri Lalita Devi. The Cupid received the command of the goddess humbly and said, "Let it be so." With palms joined in reverence, he set out from that place. From all the hair pores of the Lord of Love arose many Madanas whose features were splendid and who could enchant the entire universe. After fascinating and enchanting the entire sphere of the world through them, the Cupid went once again to the hermitage of Sthanu with the desire to conquer the moon crested Lord. He was accompanied by his friend Vasanta, the season spring, his general, the moon with cool rays, and his bosom friends and associate sexual desire, and the gentle breeze of low speed. He was accompanied by the kahali sound, trumpets and drums of the chirping, cooing sound of the cuckoos. He was richly endowed with the sentiment of lover's heroism. His body was closely embraced by Rati. He shook his victorious bow. As the leaders of all heroes, he came face of face with the enemy of the Cupid, that is, Lord Shiva. He stood there fearlessly. He struck with his arrows the moon crested lord who was engaged in penance. Thereupon the moon crested lord, struck by the volleys of Kandarpa's arrows, got rid of his attitude of non attachment. He abandoned the difficult rite of penance. The footnote says the love learned condition of Shiva, like an ordinary person, is described in verse 71 to 84. It is the author's special contribution not found in other Puranas. He abandoned all regular observances. He abandoned his mental courage. He became sick with love by frequently meditating upon Parvati. His cheeks became pale. He heaved deep sighs. Tears came out of his eyes. He was agonized by pangs and separation and loss of courage. He recollected again and again the daughter of the Lord of the mountain who had been seen by him before. Neither the digit of the moon on his head nor Ganga was capable of dispelling the scorching sensation in the body of the trident bearing Lord as it was being heated by the fiery arrows of the Cupid. He frequently rolled in the flowery bed brought by the circle of his gunners attendants, the chief among whom were Nandin, Bhringi, and Mahakala. Supported by the hand of Nandin, he went on from one flowery bed to another flowery bed and moved restlessly on it again and again. Neither on the flowery bed nor in the nectar exuding from the crescent moon, nor in the snowy cold waters of Ganga did the heat of fever of his body come down. Desirous of suppressing the fiery flames of love of his body, Shiva occupied the rocky slabs of frozen snow. He began to draw the figure of the daughter of the Lord of the mountain on picture slabs with his nails, but looking at it increased further his own pangs of love. After drawing her picture in the posture of standing humbly with stooping head and body on account of bashfulness, and looking up by means of side glances alone, he placed that picture slab on his limbs where he had horripilation. The deities of uneven number of eyes, that is Shiva, suffered much on account of great imaginary connections with her great sexual emotion and further distress from love God. He saw her alone everywhere. He directed his mind only towards her. He conversed with her alone, fixing her form in front by means of his own mad delirium. His heart became identified with hers, his mind with her mind. He considered her as his ultimate goal. He spent days and nights by her nectar like anecdotes. He was always engaged in describing her conduct. He was eager to see her form. He became a gardener, wreathing imaginary garlands of pleasurable enjoyments with her. Identifying himself with her, Shiva became extremely distressed on observing that this pain of passion could not be treated otherwise. Dhurjati exerted himself very much for the sake of marriage. After enchanting the Lord thus at the behest of Lalita, Kandarpa tormented the daughter of the Lord of the Mountain by means of his arrows. The footnote says Parvati's fascination for Shiva is the subject of Kalidasa's beautiful epic Kumar Sambhava. Her petal-like lips became dried up by the hot winds of her breaths, rendered soiled by the fiery flames of separation. Her cheeks became very pale. She did not experience any steady relish either in food or in her bed or even in sleep. She was continuously sprinkled with cooling devices by thousands of her attendants. Again and again she was distressed and agonized. She could not suppress the pain from the great fire of love. Scorched and distressed by the fire of separation, Parvati could not sleep at all. By the feverish distress of her body, she enhanced the sorrow of her father. On observing that his daughter's pangs of separation from Shiva were irremi- irremediably Shiva were irremediably severe, the Lord of Mountains felt great sorrow. She was then urged by her father thus, O gentle lady, you do propitiate Lord Maheshwara by means of penance and attain him as your husband. For securing her husband, Parvati performed a very severe penance on the peak of the mountain Himalaya named Gauri Shikhara. She practiced a dreadfully severe penance by staying in water during the winter and by standing in the middle of fires with the eyes fixed on the sun during the summer. Gratified by that penance, Shiva granted his proximity to her. He accepted her as his wife in accordance with the religious injunctions regarding marriage ceremony. Then, after requesting for her hand through the seven sages at the outset, he married the lotus eyed daughter on being offered by the Lord of the Mountain, engaged in amorous dalliance with her for a long time. Maheshwara stayed in the abode of his father-in-law in the city of Oshadi Prastha. Thereafter, he came back to Kailasha along with all the Pramatha's attendants. He brought Parvati there and thereby made the lord of the mountain all the more pleased. He continued to sport with her on Kailasa, Mandara, Vindhyadri, Himasaila, Malaya, Pariyatraka, and in various other places. Thereby Maheshwara derived great pleasure. He discharged a powerful semen into her. She was unable to bear. She cast it off on the earth. The earth cast it into the fire. He cast it among the Kritikas. They discharged it into the waters of Ganga. The river deposited it in the forest of Sara reeds. Mahasena, the great hero of six faces, was born there. Nursed by Ganga, the son of Dhurjati, Shiva grew up. The footnote says the story of Skanda's birth, his killing of Taraka, and his marriage with Devasena are recorded in Mahabharata and other Puranas. Thus, in Mahabharata, Anu 83.68, 82, 86.5, 14, we're told how he was born and the causes of the different epithets given to him for his different mothers. Vide Mahabharata Vana 230.6, 15. His killing Taraka, Mahabharata Salya 46.73, 75. His marriage with Devasena, Mahabharata Vana, chapter number 22, 29. But in Maharashtra, people believe that Skanda has taken a vow not to see a woman and has uttered a standing curse that a woman trying to see him will be a widow for 7 births. Subramanya, that is Skanda, in South India is a married god. Day by day, he grew up into a highly valorous hero. He was trained by his father and he acquired all lores. On being permitted by his father, he became the general of the army of the Devas. He killed Taraka along with Danavas. Thereupon he married Devasena, offered by Shakra, who was highly pleased when the leading Daitya Taraka was slain. That glorious daughter of Shakra, named Devasena, became excessively delighted on securing Skanda as her husband. After neatly accomplishing the task of Devas, thus the god of love who enchanted the entire sphere of the universe went to Sri Pura again. There is the holy city of Srinagar. He went to that place where Lalita Parameshwari stayed for the sake of the prosperity of the worlds. The footnote says, like every god, great or small, Skanda is said to have settled at Srinagar to serve Lalita, an attempt to enhance Lalita's glory. He went there in order to serve her.